안녕하십니까. 2024 경기국제보트쇼 국제컨퍼런스의 진행을 맡은 FTV 아나운서 배지연입니다. 바쁘신 와중에도 현장에 참석해주신 내빈 및 참가자 여러분들을 진심으로 환영합니다. 해양수산부와 경기도가 주최하는 2024 경기국제보트쇼는 어느덧 17년째를 맞이한 대한민국 해양 레저 산업의 역사라고 할 수 있습니다. 2008년 경기 바다에서 시작된 경기국제보트쇼는 기술의 혁신과 해외 진출을 선도하며 해양 레저 산업을 국민소득 3만 불 시대의 대표적인 신성장 동력 산업으로 이끌었습니다. 대한민국 해양 레저 산업의 채널 경기국제보트쇼 국제컨퍼런스에서는 국내외 최고의 연사분들을 모시고 세계 시장을 선도할 대한민국 해양 레저 산업의 미래에 대해서 조명해보는 시간을 갖고자 합니다. 먼저 본 행사를 개최하신 공정식 경기도 농수산생명과학국장님의 환영사가 있겠습니다. 큰 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
네, 안녕하세요. 경기국제보트쇼를 찾아주신 세계해양협회 그리고 각국에서 오신 해양 레저협회 대표자 여러분, 그리고 이 세션에 참가하고 오신 이해관계자 여러분, 저는 이 보트쇼를 개최한 경기도의 담당 국장입니다. 대한민국은 1인당 국민 총소득이 2006년 이때 2만 불을 넘었습니다. 그리고 작년 통계를 보면 3만 8천 불에 이르고 있습니다. 우리 경기도는 2008년부터 국민 총소득이 2만 불이 넘어설 때 국제보트쇼를 시작을 했고요. 지금 3만 8천 불을 달하고 있을 때 세계적인 대회로 성장하고 있습니다. 이렇게 경기국제보트쇼가 성장하게 된 데는 여러분의 헌신과 관심이 있었기 때문이라고 생각합니다. 진심으로 감사드립니다. 요즘에 모든 산업들이 그러다 하듯이 글로벌 공급망에 따라서 이 산업의 판도가 결정되고 있습니다. 이 해양 레저 산업의 경우에도 마찬가지로 글로벌 공급망에 영향을 크게 받고 있습니다. 오늘 참가하고 계신 여러분들이 그 글로벌 공급망의 주역이 되고 있다고 생각하고 있습니다. 오늘 또 뜻깊은 행사가 우리나라 한국해양레저협회가 세계해양협회 풀 멤버십으로 가입됐다고 들었습니다. 경기국제보트쇼에서 이러한 행사를 해주게 된 거에 대해서 진심으로 감사드리고요. 우리 한국해양레저협회가 앞으로 국내 역할뿐만 아니라 방금 말씀드린 글로벌 공급망에 있어서 큰 역할을 해줄 수 있기를 바라겠습니다. 대한민국에 머무르시면서 즐거운 경험과 유익한 경험을 갖고 본국으로 귀국하시기 바라겠습니다. 경기국제보트쇼를 찾아주셔서 진심으로 감사드립니다. 감사합니다.
네, 공정식 국장님의 환영사였습니다. 큰 박수 부탁드립니다. 이어서 기조연설이 있겠습니다. 첫 번째로는 세계해양협회 환영이라는 주제로 조 린치 세계해양협회 회장님께서 기조연설을 해주시겠습니다.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to address you all today. I am Joe Lynch, and I'm proud to be the Chief Executive Officer of ICOMIA, the International Council of Marine Industry Associations. We like to call ourselves the voice of the recreational industry worldwide. And I'd like to spend just 10 minutes explaining to you how we work, and more importantly, how our new members can participate and get the maximum value and support our network to the fullest extent possible. We talk about being the global voice of the marine industry. Really, we are a very small organisation. There is only a very small number of people that are directly working for ICOMIA. But our members, wow, they're powerful. The network of members we have is just phenomenal, and the intellectual knowledge, the influence, the levels of innovation, energy and leadership that our members possess is what makes ICOMIA so special. What we do really by making our members and helping our members collaborate, we do research, and we entertain and we lobby and we advocate with governments and legislative bodies around the world, because our mission is really simple. We work hard with our members to make a safe, sustainable and successful future for our industry worldwide. We don't do it ourselves, we do it with our members, and our members do it for everyone else. At a glance, we are nearly a global organisation. We still have some work to do, but we have 38 national federations. In fact, forgive me, that is now 39 national federations. Congratulations, Korea. We have over 54 other forms of supporting membership, and between us we think we represent 90% of the economic value of leisure boating worldwide. At a prudent estimate, that's over $300 billion every year of economic value created by our industry. So I said earlier on today that our industry does the world a lot of good. It enriches people's lives. We all know that time spent in, on or around the water makes us feel good. But it is also good for the economies that we work in and the communities that we work in. Our sport, our activity is accessible, it's environmentally responsible, nearly all of the time, and economically it is a very significant driver of growth. So we really are very lucky to be the custodians of a significant industry. We also have some tremendous connections. I often talk about ICOMIA being really only existing because of the network effect. But because we have such an influential network, we have connections with everybody that you need to be connected with. We have a seat at the International Maritime Organization, where we can influence and lobby and change legal and maritime legal restrictions, laws, procedures on a global level. We are also heavily involved with two of the largest standards organisations across the world, ISO and the ABYC in America. And we are part owners or sister organisations with the world's largest boat show organisers. We can see today in this fantastic boat show how much of a positive impact boat shows create. Not only do they bring the trade together, the community of suppliers, they also bring our customers in. Our current customers and most importantly our future customers. So through ICOMIA you can have access to and influence the policies and secure preferential treatment through IBEX, which is in North America, the world's largest, or North America's largest trade-only show. Metstrade in Amsterdam in November is a brilliant opportunity to showcase your products. We partner with the European boating industry, amongst others, and also the International Federation of Boat Show Organisers. So really it is a huge and very powerful network of marine industry associations. We've been existing since 1966, and we have only ever represented, and we only ever will represent, the recreational marine industry. When it comes to commercial shipping or fishing, we pass that over. That's not our interest. We just focus on those private individuals going out to enjoy time on, in, or next to the water. And what we try and do, and what is the main focus of our work, is uniting local efforts through national associations into one global organisation. And that means when we want the voice of the industry to be heard, we know that we can speak from a position of impartiality, international perspective, and independent of commercial interests. So that means when you go to speak to governments or regulators or people that want decisions about large-scale infrastructure investments, we are able to represent the industry without fear or favour. And that's an incredibly powerful part of the ICOMIA promise to our members. Rather than governments working with a single business or a representative of a single business, they can deal with ICOMIA and have the representation of the entire industry globally. Our members working together break down barriers to trade. We work hard to promote safety, the safety of the design of the boats, the responsible use, and also sensible laws and regulations to ensure that everybody, including our customers especially, has safe, enjoyable times on the water. We do an awful lot of research. We've recently published a piece of research that cost over €1 million to commission and distribute, and that was entirely focusing on how we decarbonise leisure boats. Now, no one single company or no one single member association could ever afford to do such thorough research. But we've now in a position to have this body of evidence that we can take to regulators, we can give to the industry, so that we can work together and make decisions for the future based on fact, based on data, and avoid decisions made on anecdote or emotions. We spend a lot of time, and Patrick leads this, publishing international codes of practice, formulating case studies, documents of best practice, codes of conduct, so that people know they are working to the very best standards possible wherever in the world they may be working. And of course, we work hard to promote a sustainable and responsible attitude across the industry. It's too important not to. We are very lucky that we work in the boating industry. We all know how precious the places are that we get to visit on our boats. And it's really important, and nobody needs telling that we need to work hard to preserve those, not just for the next generation, but the generation after that. We have four main priorities. We work to support our members. We are constantly trying to find new areas of the globe where we can create membership bodies. We look for hotspots in the world where people are innovating and the industry is growing. Korea is a great example, and encourage people to work together. Now, we instinctively know that in our industry we are a friendly, helpful crowd. We instinctively go to the aid of one another when we need to, both off and on the water. So we are always encouraging companies to form together, to form membership associations that can then join ICOMIA and participate in the global dialogue. We work really hard to listen to and speak to all of our members internally, but we also take their voice externally, wherever we need to campaign for a better environment for our industry, whether it's regulation, tax incentives, investment schemes. We will work really hard with other organisations to demonstrate that we are speaking with a unified voice. The research we do is driven by our members' needs. In fact, our members pay for the research. ICOMIA is only a small business. We rely on our members coming together to realise that if we collaborate, we can learn so much more for the benefit of everybody in the industry. And we also work hard to build our profile, and I'm very grateful to have the opportunity today and at events like this to continue to talk about ICOMIA, so thank you very much for hosting us. The way we work is really important, and this is so important for our members. A membership scheme, in the true sense of the word, is very different from a service that you buy. One of the phrases I like to say is that our members buy into ICOMIA. They don't buy from us. ICOMIA only works because our members invest their time, their energy and their expertise, and what they put into the organisation they will get back. There is no space for passive participation in a membership scheme. But the way we then work is get our members to work together according to their interests in technical committees that might cover engine manufacturers. And I can see, looking around here, in fact, looking across the horizon, I can see all of our engine manufacturing groups are here. We cover everything from super yacht refit groups, super yacht applicators. We have some next generation groups forming that will just discuss the next generation of propulsion, whether it's electric, hydrogen, fuel cells. We have a lot of committees that work purely on developing our industry. How do we get the best market intelligence? How do we work together to grow our industry? There's very, very rarely any competition between our members, because we all know that if we work together better, we will make the industry bigger and have a more successful future. We have specialist groups that talk about exporting and run boat show committees to discuss where to be exhibiting our goods next, and the marinas group that discusses the very best practices from around the world to give our customers the best experiences in our marinas. And we also host a range of events around the world. I would really encourage participation at these events, because not only do you get the chance to hear some fantastic speakers who give you their wisdom, not their sales pitch, But you also get to build up an invaluable network, the global community of people in the marine industry who just make friends with you, share advice, help you with your particular challenges. And as Tim and I were saying earlier, we first met about 25 or so years ago, and we continue to work together and support one another, which is typical of our industry. One of the events I would really like to stress is the ICOMIA Congress, which will be happening in May in France and La Rochelle. That's the next big opportunity for members to come together, share their advice, share their challenges, and get to build that network that is truly invaluable. That was a very quick roundup of the world of ICOMIA. Thank you for listening. I think we have questions coming on a panel session later on. So without further ado, thank you very much. I will hand over.
세계해양협회가 추구하는 바와 또 이 협회가 얼마나 강력하고 대내외적으로 도움되는 조직인지에 대해서 강조하시면서 기조연설해 주셨습니다. 다시 한번 큰 박수 부탁드립니다. 두 번째 순서는 한국해양레저산업협회 소개라는 주제로 정일권 한국해양레저산업협회 회장님께서 기조연설을 해주시겠습니다.
네, 안녕하십니까. 한국해양레저산업협회 회장을 맡게 됐습니다. 네, 저는 그 보트 제조를 하고 있고요. 뭐 이제 몇 번 들으셨겠지만 뭐 한 연간 한 100대 정도의 그 판매를 하고 있습니다. 근데 뭐 작년이랑 올해랑 이제 너무 경기가 안 좋을 거라고 올해는 예상하고 작년에는 이제 많이 안 좋다고들 많이들 하셨는데 뭐 저희도 마찬가지고요. 이렇게 경기가 안 좋을 때는 그 수출 쪽으로 원래 발을 돌려야 되는 게 맞는데 이게 아직까지 국내에서 그 외국에 수출하기에는 조금 많이 뭐 이렇게 규제가 되는 거랑 그 이제 퀄리티나 뭐 이런 문제가 좀 있어서 좀 어렵다고 봅니다. 그래서 뭐 저도 이제 많이 생각을 했는데 업체분들이 이제 해양협회가 좀 생겨서 이거를 좀 정부한테 지원도 좀 받고 기술도 좀 받고 이런 부분에 대해서 좀 하면 어떻겠냐라고 해서 이제 만들게 되었는데요. 그래서 제가 오늘 간단하게 한번 협회 소개에 대해서 한번 써봤습니다. 해양레저산업협회 그 필요성에 대해서 제가 말씀드릴 거고요. 그리고 저희가 또 해야 할 일, 협회가 과연 무엇을 해야 우리 대한민국 그 레저 산업이 발전을 할 수 있느냐 이거에 대해서 간단하게 말씀드리겠습니다. 작년에 7월에 이제 창립 총회를 가졌고요. 그리고 뭐 지금 이제 뭐 부지런히 회원사들도 모집하고 뭐 이제 일을 열심히 하고 있는데 아직 뭐 커다란 성과는 아직 있지 않습니다. 저희가 이제 해야 할 일이 그 회원사들과의 그 네트워킹이 좀 많이 필요한 것 같아서 네트워킹이나 그리고 산업 정보 제공 그리고 기술 교육 그리고 산업 안전 발전 지속 가능성 이게 짧은 거 말고 좀 길게 갈 수 있는 것들과 그 정부 및 그 국제기구 이제 아이코미아처럼 국제기구와의 협력 그리고 이제 R&D나 뭐 산업 연구 통계 이런 게 상당히 필요하다고 보고 요거에 대해서 이제 제가 말씀드리려고 합니다. 그 연구 및 통계 관리 등 해양 레저의 연구를 진행을 해야 맞습니다. 지금까지는 이렇게 크게 그러니까 진행하는 것도 오픈돼 있지도 않고 이제 뭐 저희가 이제 말하기에는 아나운니 이제 조금씩 하셨는데 저희 협회가 이제 생김으로써 이제 그거를 이 업계들한테 모두 알리고 다 참여할 수 있고 모두 그런 기술을 받고 그거를 이제 추진할 수 있게끔 저희가 도와주는 역할을 해야 한다고 봅니다. 그래서 해양보트 기술과 그 디자인 연구 지원을 저희도 하는데 이쪽에 이제 경무정 같은 거 보셨겠지만 그런 디자이너들과의 그 협업을 통해서 이제 할 수 있게끔 저희 협회가 좀 지원을 할 예정이고요. 그리고 시장 동향 그 경쟁 분석 통계 요거는 이제 뭐 외국 같은 경우 이제 시장이 지금 어떻게 돌아가고 있는지 우리만 어려운지 아니면은 어느 지역만 어려운지 아니면 알루미늄 보트나 FRP 보트 양쪽이 다 어려운지 아니면 어떤 게 더 많이 팔리는지 그런 통계나 시장 동향이 굉장히 중요하다고 보기 때문에 그런 통계를 통해서 회원사분들한테 제공을 할 예정입니다. 그리고 장비 기술 그리고 기술 고도화 사업인데요. 이게 제가 보트를 제조하는 입장에서 봤을 때 보트 말고 다른 것들은 거의 다 수입에 의존하고 있습니다. 뭐 엔진이라든가 아니면 기타 뭐 전기 장치 뭐 이런 게 거의 다 수입이거든요. 그거를 이제 국내 제조를 할 수 있게끔 네, 저희 협회에서 좀 많이 노력하겠습니다. 그리고 이제 품질 향상 부분이 있는데요. 이 품질 향상은 이게 뭐 국내에서 많이 판매를 하거나 아니면 매출을 올리거나 세계 수출을 하려면 지금 사실 이런 한국 그 보트 그 퀄리티는 조금 많이 떨어지는 편이에요. 솔직하게. 저희가 뭐 국내에서 가장 많이 판매는 하지만 저희도 조금 기술이 많이 부족한 상태고, 그래서 표면 처리나 마감 기술 이런 부분을 이제 뭐 아이코미아에서 이렇게 좀 지원 좀 받아서 업계들한테 좀 알려줄 수 있는 그런 계기를 좀 마련하고 싶습니다. 교육 프로그램 운영, 일자리 창출 사업도 좀 같이 돼 있는데요. 이게 뭐 이제 아시는 분들은 아시겠지만 교육을 받아도 사실 그분들이 현장에 와서 다시 현장 교육을 다시 받아야 되는 실정이거든요. 지금 보면. 근데 이런 경우가 상당히 업체 입장에서도 좀 월급은 똑같이 주는데 너무 못하는 거 아니야? 교육하고 왔다면서 이런 얘기가 많이 나오기 때문에 교육을 하고 저희 현장에서 실습하고 현장에 바로 투입할 수 있게끔 할 수 있는 게 이제 저희 협회에서 할 일이라고 봅니다. 이런 부분으로 이제 일자리 창출 사업도 좀 같이 생각하고 있고요. 지금처럼 이런 컨퍼런스나 세미나, 포럼 개최, 지식 교류 사업 이 모든 게 이제 이 협회가 있음으로 해서 업계들이 협회한테 요청을 할 수가 있고 뭐가 필요하다. 그리고 저희 협회에서는 이런 좋은 정보가 있으니 업계분들이 많이 이용을 해주세요라고 이제 하려고 노력하고 있습니다. 이제 가장 중요한 거 아까도 말씀드렸지만 판로 확대하고 경쟁력 강화 사업인데요. 이거는 뭐 이제 수출하시는 분들도 좀 계시지만 이제 국내 경기가 좀 안 좋다 하더라도 수출하신 분들은 그쪽 나라 경기가 좋게 되면은 굳이 이렇게 우리나라에서 어렵게 하거나 우리나라가 좋다면 뭐 괜찮겠지만 이렇게 수출을 할 수 있게끔 통합 시스템을 좀 만들려고 합니다. 이렇게 각각의 이 수많은 업체들이 외국에다 홍보를 하는 게 아니라 저희 협회를 통해서 저희 협회에 가입되어 있는 업체들은 저희가 홍보를 해줌으로써 굳이 이렇게 각 나라마다 홍보를 안 해도 수출 판매할 수 있게끔 하려고 하고 있습니다. 근데 이제 저희가 지금 뭐 이렇게 생긴 지 이제 저희도 걸음마 단계이기 때문에 이런 모든 일들이 뭐 일사천리로 빨리 되진 않겠지만 뭐 최대한 저희가 노력해서 협회가 할 수 있는 일을 많이 만들고 그리고 대한민국이 빠른 시간 안에 세계화할 수 있게끔 노력을 많이 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
정일곤 회장님의 좋은 말씀 감사합니다. 다시 한번 큰 박수 부탁드립니다. 네, 마지막 기조연설로는 아시아를 위한 세계해양협회 아시아워킹 그룹 체제라는 주제로 수린채 세계해양협회 아시아 총괄님께서 기조연설을 해주시겠습니다.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much to the organizers of the Korean International Boat Show for having me here at the conference. The opportunity is very much appreciated by ICOMIA. My name is Sulin Chia, and I am the regional representative for ICOMIA in Asia. And as the regional representative, I support ICOMIA's members here and their activities. I am also responsible for ICOMIA's communication channels, initiatives, events, and in fact, I'm the program lead for the ICOMIA Boating Industry Conference that we're having in Singapore in April, but more about that later. ICOMIA has over 20 years of engagement with Asia. Today, we have 9 members. And I just want to highlight here that in Korea, we have had for many years 2 members, the Korean International Boat Show and the Marina and Marine Industry Association. And today, we're very proud to welcome KMIA as the new member. So in Korea, we actually have 3 representatives of your industry. In ICOMIA, we refer to our members as Marine Industry Associations, or MIAs. And this is a very important point to highlight. These national organizations, like KMIA, indicate that there is a growing awareness among independent businesses that working together is important and, in fact, critical. Put simply, collective action as an industry is good for business. In addition, ICOMIA also stays in touch with non-member associations to provide support when ready to join the global family. So the first Asian collaboration was put forward in an informal discussion way back in 2013 in Singapore. And in Singapore, we had the Asia Boating Forum that ran for a number of years. And I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Tim Coventry, who was, an amazing supporter of the forums. And these forums were held annually with the full support of ICOMIA. The Asia Working Group was not formed then, but we were supportive of the efforts by our members in Asia at the time to already be trying to bring the Asian industry together. These regional meetings were open to all industry stakeholders. Up here, you'll see I flashed the Asia Boating Dialogue, which we had in 2020. This was in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, and Asia continued to stay connected through this event. This was a virtual event that was hosted by ICOMIA. It had the participation of these 16 industry speakers, each providing an overview of their respective countries and their boating markets. Presentations were made available to all. So one of the key takeaways that we had from this very important event was that Asia needed to work together. So in 2022, the ICOMIA Asia Working Group was formed. Like all working groups in ICOMIA, this working group is made up of members, driven by members, with a duly elected chair and vice chair. The working committees are governed by the Constitution and rules of procedure. So involvement from members in ICOMIA, and now particularly I speak in Asia, there are 2 levels. One is at a global level. We've got working committees. Joe has mentioned that you can participate through our various working committees. One example is the Exporters Committee, which I think is very relevant to Korea as a manufacturing country. The Technical Committee is also another key one that ought to be coming into, but also at the regional level, and this is where the Asia Working Group comes into play. The Asia Working Group not only works, on important initiatives for the whole region, but also represents the region at ICOMIA. This is how the world will be able to communicate with the region as a whole, right? So the terms for collaborating, these are the 3 areas that the working group members felt very strongly about how we work together. To identify and work on issues of common concern. An example, One that is prevalent is actually cross-border controls, cross-border movement of vessels from one country to another. We've got varying regulations. It's very difficult for boaters to go from, say, Indonesia into Malaysia into Thailand. So unless there is harmonized regulation, it's difficult for boaters to be able to travel further out, all right? And I'm sure there will be concerns from between Korea and Japan, maybe into China. Secondly, to ensure knowledge of ICOMIA's resources, Joe discussed as well a little bit about the resources that we have, the research that we do, the various evidence-based research information that help Asia associations resolve issues of interest to their members. Most importantly is to promote cooperation. Again, it's about that collaboration to connect, to make new connections, friends and colleagues, and build, and grow the network right across the region. So the founding members of the working group, and again, even today, have identified 4 pillars of development for the industry. First one is advocacy. Access to policymakers and decision-making process, ensuring that the voice of the industry is heard. Access to water, development of infrastructure, safety of boats and boaters alike, and the protection of the marine environment. Grow boating, development of an ecosystem that ensures that it encourages new entrants into boating and keeps them boating. And finally, financial structures that support consumer and wholesale distribution. We're talking about financing, we're talking about insurance. So in order to engage effectively, there must be continual process of ensuring that there's an alignment of our strategic goals, our targets, and understanding between associations, between countries, about how we're going to work together. The Asia Working Group meets formally at least 4 times a year, but with projects and initiatives that we agree on, they will continue this discussion at all times. So I take this opportunity to introduce a very important event, and this is a very important networking event for ICOMIA and for our members, and this is the ICOMIA Boating Industry Conference. It is being held in conjunction with the Singapore Yachting Festival that's happening in April. This conference is in the spirit of the initial boating forums that we have had, but we now have got a comprehensive program that is filled with information and expertise on issues that are relevant to global boating as well as to business in Asia. Darren Vo will be delivering the keynote address. He will be delivering the report on the research that we have been undertaken in decarbonization. So I'm not going to go into detail about that. You need to come to the conference and hear all about this. He has presented this at Med Strait. He's done this in Dusseldorf. He's done it in Miami. And this is the first time it's actually being presented in Asia. Oh, it's terribly small. I'm very sorry, but you can come and see me if you want to have a glimpse at what the program is. So the conference program is designed along the fundamentals that I mentioned earlier. All right, we've got advocacy covered in here. We've got access to water. We've got marina specialists that will be speaking. We are going to be talking about grow boating as well. So the topics are planned are just the start, and we're hoping that it's going to generate discussion, it's going to generate debate, right? So apart from the presentations and discussions about sustainability, we are also going to be talking about the business of boating. So including new trends in getting people into boating lifestyle, not just about selling, but about charter, about boat sharing, and things like that. And understanding also the value of boating. What is the economic value? And these are all the important information that we need to build strategies for to bring this important information to policymakers, and there'll be much more in that conference. We hope that you will come to Singapore in April. and learn from the subject experts that we have brought together. I'll just show a few links. I encourage everyone to go to icomia.org, our website. Take a look at our committees, have a look at the resources that we have. KMIA's members will have access to all those resources that are listed on the site. As well as understanding the working groups, which ones will be relevant to the association and their members. And these working groups, I just want to stress, are established, and they're driven by shared commercial interests, not just self-interest, and they work right across the borders. So I take this opportunity to thank KMIA again and welcome you to the Asia Working Group, and we're looking forward very much to having you with us at our next meeting in Singapore. Thank you very much.
소개해주신 수린채 아시아 총괄님의 말씀 감사합니다. 이어서 기조 발표를 진행하겠습니다. 동남아시아의 보팅 시장이라는 주제로 싱가포르 보트산업협회 YP로크 회장님께서 기조 발표를 해주시겠습니다. YP로크 회장님을 무대로 모시겠습니다. 여러분 큰 박수로 환영해 주시기 바랍니다.
Good afternoon. My name is YP Lok from the Singapore Boating Industry Association. My short talk is about boating development in Southeast Asia. Some things we've learned along the way, and we'll try and talk a little bit about what I think our future challenges are. Boating in Southeast Asia began with Raffles Marina, which was the first marina to be built in Southeast Asia in 1993. And being the first marina, there was very little industry support. One of the things that we had to do in the early days was to develop the supporting infrastructure, help suppliers to come along, help dealers to bring in boats, build up maintenance, in fact develop the whole ecosystem for supporting boats, because we think of marinas as just one part of a supply chain that supplies boating enjoyment to the end user. So a marina on its own cannot do the job of delivering boating enjoyment. It takes a whole supply chain to do that. Because boating was new, there was a lot of hand-holding that was needed to get boat owners to use their boats and to show them what they can do with the boat. Things we did include boater education, cruising company, so that they feel safer when they travel together. Bearing in mind that Singapore is a very small country, so we often bring our sailors into Malaysian waters or into Indonesian waters. Along the way, we formed the association, the Singapore Boating Industry Association, which I'm from. And in the same year, in 2011, we also joined ICOMIA, the world body for recreational boating. And in that year, we hosted the World Marina Conference in Singapore, the first time it had come to Asia. Along the way, we helped form the Asia Pacific Super Yacht Association, because we found that when we went overseas to try and promote Singapore, people would ask, why come to Singapore or why come to Raffles Marina? And so we end up promoting not just Raffles Marina, not just Singapore, but we have to promote the whole region. So it makes sense then to have everybody in the region group together to go overseas to promote the whole region as a single destination. Safety and licensing is compulsory in a place like Singapore. It's a big commercial port. Everyone who drives a powered boat needs to have a license, and the boat themselves have to be licensed. We recently developed a code of practice under the Singapore standards for water sports, for the conduct of water sports activities in Singapore, which includes boating, kayaking, paddle sports, and the rest of it. So from that beginning in 1993, you can see that in the region there are now over 50 marinas all over the region. We've had our ups and downs over the years. The opening of 115 and Keppel Marina was a big boost to our industry because they were in central Singapore and much more visible to the public. Previously, the marinas were all in outlying areas and difficult for the public to get to. The opening of Indonesia to cruising was another good milestone for us because Indonesia is a big part of Southeast Asia and a center of biodiversity with 17,000 islands. We had financial downturns which caused us some difficulties, and of course we had the two big pandemics, COVID-19 and before that SARS. So we've had to endure our ups and downs throughout the years. So what have we learned along the way? I've tried to group the issues into four categories, the ones that Sulin used earlier: policy, access to water, which is infrastructure development mostly, initiatives to grow boating, and financial services. So policy and regulation is important because in Asia, as in many other places, the pace of development is influenced by government policy. Government can make it very difficult for you to grow boating, or they can make it very easy. But the question, of course, is why should governments be interested in boating at all? These are some of the reasons. Of course, employment, benefit to the economy, building the community, maritime heritage, if you are a country with a maritime heritage. But government, I think, would only be interested if boating was perceived as an affordable, healthy outdoor recreation activity for the whole family. Very often in Asia, boats are marketed as exclusive lifestyle, which comes across as very elitist. And if that is the case, it is difficult. We make it difficult for ourselves, for politicians to support our cause. Access to water. It is actually more difficult than it sounds because marinas on their own are often unprofitable. That's the reality of the situation. So finding the right business model for a marina can make or break the situation. In most of Asia, marinas are part of real estate. They can be a club development where memberships are charged upfront to finance the marina. They can be public-private partnerships with government involved. And in a few cases, they can be member-owned, but this tends to be in clubs with a long history. Member clubs may be more prevalent in the West, in Asia, because we don't have a long history, a long culture in sailing, much less member-owned clubs. Marinas, as I mentioned before, are more than a place to park your boat. So we have to think of ourselves as part of the supply chain to deliver a boating experience to the boat owner, which means that we have to do all these things. We have to supply fuel, we support food and beverage, we do sail training, we have maintenance, and there's also a picture there of Chandlery, which is a shop that sells boating supplies. Why have an association? I will actually not spend a long time on this slide because you've heard both Joe and Sulin talk about it. We have found it to be beneficial, obviously. It is the voice of our industry. We found it easier to talk to regulators as an association. When one marina or one company goes to see a regulator, it's difficult to get things done, but as a group, it's easier to get our points across. There is a saying, if you want to fly, if you fly alone, you fly fast, but if you want to fly far, you have to fly as a group. So, there you go. And we are part of ICOMIA. As you can see, there are many working groups, but three that I have found that I think are useful for us, and I think for you in Korea, are the Asia Working Group, the Marinas Group for your domestic development, and the Export Group for your manufacturers. There are, of course, many others. The shows I found have evolves as industry evolves. It begins in the early stages of the boating development as being a way to introduce boating and to build awareness. But as boating takes root, then it becomes more about selling the experience and selling the product. In many cases, in Asia, boat show drives the growth of the boating market. So a boat show is an important component in delivering the experience. In developing markets like ours, the drivers of growth are latent demand, improving economy, whether government makes it easy for us to go boating, and of course we need marinas. This slide shows financial services, which in most of Asia is underdeveloped, I would say. If you are buying a boat, in most of Asia, it's hard to get financing. If you are a dealer or distributor, it is also not easy to get financing. And that is something I think to work on, and it's maybe an area with the help of ICOMIA, we can think of ways to get our financial institutions interested in our sector. What is the future for us? We all know that the world is much more uncertain these days. So business disruption is always an issue. Boating is not a necessity. And so we all know our business is very cyclical. You have to keep something for a rainy day in case of a downturn. Climate change will affect us. We've talked about decarbonization. And also marinas, I think the older ones particularly will be affected by sea level rise. In Asia, I think the wealth gap in some countries is a big problem. Governments do not want to support boating if they come across as toys for the rich. So how we brand boating in Asia, I think, is something we have to think about. The Singapore Yachting Festival, Sulin has talked about that. I hope you will all come in April. We will have the Boating Industry Conference, and we will have the Asia Working Group meeting there. So I hope I can welcome you all to Singapore. Thank you very much.
네, YP 로코 회장님께 다시 한번 큰 박수 부탁드립니다.